Thank you for allowing me to speak, Claudia. And today's topic is Science Fails to Explain Life. Now, what is most intimate to all of us? Life, isn't it? When I became a physician, I was practicing I went to college in India and I was practicing medicine, trying to learn. Then I became physician. So after becoming medical doctor, the only thing I didn't learn is definition of life. Although I was dealing with life daily. Inside out, patients, diseases, life. And I asked my HOD, I did everything to deal with life. I don't know what's life. And what is the meaning of life? That's the second question. That was absolutely not there in our curriculum. Philosophers like Ludwig Wittgenstein, all philosophers, they say that there's just two questions in life which you have to get answers to, and that is, who are you? What is life? And what is the meaning of life? In fact, we should have answers for that, no? Otherwise, what's the point of life? That's one thing. But the point is, to get a meaning of life, you should first have definition of life. Or you should know at least what is life. Then you can get a meaning for life. Whom to ask? Scientist? Because science is the age of science, rationality, logic. But if you go to scientists, because I was practicing genetics, I'm in field of genetics research. So if you go to scientists and if you ask scientists, I'm going to put in very simple terms, because if you ask them what is definition of life, what do they say according to science? Now I'm going to quote you a definition of life by a book about life by Dr. Paul S. Gutter. It's the latest book. He just published it. Theoretical and cell biology consultant in Derbyshire. Am I pronouncing it okay? Derbyshire? That's okay. UK states. He said in his book, in the conclusion, the quest for a clear distinction between living and non-living has always been vain. So it is a waste of time to consider the question further. Science is at the point where they don't want to define life because it's difficult to define life. It's difficult because how matter you define life, you end up with molecules and chemicals. And how matter you define life, there are always exceptions. There are always exceptions to your definition. For example, if you define life as reproduction, metabolism, you have heard about all these things? No? Growth. Well, there are always exceptions like viruses. That's all in the books. They don't grow, they don't reproduce until unless they go in a living being. Outside, they're just dead. They appear dead. Like for millions of years, they can be in bottle. Nothing will happen. And what about simulations in computer? People thought, okay, we can simulate programs. Now, there's a latest computer program, Polymath. It can reproduce things. The program can reproduce, can replicate in the computer. It can grow, it can destroy itself. But no scientist dare to call it life. No. That's a bunch of chemicals. Electrical signals, that's all. That's all we know, bits and bytes. So definition of life is a problem today. You can keep on reading many things. You can go on Google and keep on reading things, but people are confused. What about origin of life? So science left defining life. Forget that concept, defining life. Let us search life somewhere. Let us try to make life in laboratory. And in the process, we learn how to define life. This approach science took. So what about origin of life? What about that? Okay, let me quote you. Another scientist. You know about Fred Hoyle? Yeah, you might know. Astronomer. And also, he was great. He was a mathematician, physicist. He was good. He said, he said that the notion of a biopolymer basically means dead chemicals. The notion that dead chemicals operating in living cell could be arrived by chance in a primordial organic soup. This is a theory, that life originates in an organic soup 4.2 billion years ago. That's a theory. That life arrived by chance in primordial organic soup here on earth is evidently nonsense of high order. He's saying that. And then he continues that if there were a basic principle of matter which somehow drove organic systems towards life, that means if you can make life in your lab by chemicals, its existence should easily be demonstrable in laboratory by now. Science is advanced. If life came from chemicals, you could have easily done, You could have easily at least made a blade of grass. But I will give you the answer. And so save the time and trouble and expense of actually doing the experiment, you will find nothing at all. So that's about life. That's the stance of science on life. Then you can read details in this book. So science cannot define life. Science doesn't know how life originates. There are theories, not theories, but hypotheses. Let me say hypotheses. There are assumptions that life comes from chemicals. People are trying. But that's just a belief. And they're trying to prove their belief scientifically. It's not science, it's a belief. Life comes from matter. Is it? Nobody has shown that. Science means observation, hypothesis, experiment, and theory. That's science. We know that electrons flow in this wire, and we have electricity and light. Is it? Simple. So we believe. So that's not a belief, that's a theory. We know for a fact. But nobody has shown us that life comes from molecules. It's a belief. Nobody has shown up to now. And we believe that, and scientists are trying to prove it scientifically. No problems, they can try that. But there's another understanding to life. There's another, you can call it as belief. And that belief is, that understanding is life is beyond matter. Life is beyond body. We are not just machines. And that's what science has led us to believe, that we are machines. We don't act, we react. That's what we come to believe. But according to Bhagavad Gita, and according to all cultures and traditions, life is beyond matter. We are not machines. We are humans. Life is not all about chemicals and molecules and neurons and electrical signals. And that's what Bhagavad Gita is on to teach. And that's what is all yoga about, no? You're doing yoga? That's what is all yoga about. Life is something beyond matter, beyond your body. And there Bhagavad Gita begins, second chapter. Second chapter Bhagavad Gita says, yes, dehinosmi natha dehe kaumaram yavnam chara tatha dehantar praptis dhiras tatra namuyati. Bhagavad Gita begins with the knowledge of soul and body. According to Bhagavad Gita, life is soul, different from body. Well, you might ask here, how do you know that? No. Okay, we can do an experiment. An experiment is, there's a process given in scriptures. You follow that and you'll come to know. Simple. What's the problem? So if scientists have a process, they want to show life comes from chemicals. So they have test tubes and so many things. They do their combinations and they're trying to prove. That's a process. And Bhagavad Gita says, no, life doesn't come from chemicals. It is beyond chemicals. There is something called a soul. And there's a process. We'll give you a process. You follow that and you will realize that you're not this body. It's as simple as that. It's not a big rocket science. So, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita begins with the concept of soul. Now the point is, first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is all about to tell us that whatever problems we are facing in a life, frustration, anxieties, we all feel that, loneliness, we are not satisfied. It's all due to a misconception that we are this body. It's all due to misconception that life is all about matter. That's what Bhagavad Gita is telling us. And it makes sense, because if you think you are this body and you are just this matter, then there's a problem. You might think, what's the problem in that? To think about that. Second chapter, Bhagavad Gita explains, no, there's a problem with that. The problem is, if you're thinking you're this body and you're this, eyes, ears, nose, then you will be, entire life you will be just revolving around your body to satisfy these senses, no? Is it? That's all, because I am this, and I have to satisfy myself. So I need something from my eyes to see. Everybody wants to become happy, no? Is it? Everybody wants to become self-satisfied. So how to do that? I have this, I am this. So I have to see something nice to make myself happy. So you see movies. You have to hear something, music. You have to taste food. And any other thing, whatever other thing you accumulate, that's only for body. But there's a problem. Problem is, if your life is just based on body, and that's called materialistic life, then you have some good moments where you can enjoy it. Just like now, fire is there. It's quite warm now. It's good. But every time it's not like that, because to get things you need to struggle. Is it? To get a movie, to get TV, to get laptop, to get music, to get this house, you need to struggle. You need finance. We're talking about finance. Everybody needs finance. You need money. Money is you can't get on trees. To work. So you have to struggle, you have to work hard. Sometimes you can make it, sometimes you cannot make it. Sometimes your bank account is up, sometimes down. No? So life is troublesome. But if you know you are not this body, your soul, and then you want to become happy, you don't need all this kind of stuff. You can be self-satisfied. Now, the question which second chapter asks Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita says, okay, fine. Is there any logic for that? How do we understand we are soul? Well, it's very easy to understand you are not this body. It's very, very easy. And that is why third chapter begins of Bhagavad Gita, which is called as Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means basically actions. You have to do some action. You have to follow a process, and you can understand. It's an experiment. So, some things, some evidences you get by experience, no? Not just by senses. Just like I was giving example. If you want to know that you're in pain, how do you know? By eyes, ears, nose? No, not by senses. By experience, by feeling, no? Feeling, you know by feeling. There's a pain. Nobody asks you to prove that there's a pain. You have pain, you have a pain. You go to the doctor, I am in pain. Doctor doesn't say, you first prove you're in pain, then I'll treat you. We know you're in pain. Everybody understands that. So some knowledge comes through experience, through feelings. And that's self-evident knowledge. There is a knowledge, there is a system of knowledge. So if you do, Karma Yoga means you do some actions. What action Bhagavad Gita recommends? We are chanting now, this mantra. If you chant this mantra or any other type of practice, slowly you will get knowledge and cognition together. You get the knowledge, you get the experience, and you know that I'm different from body. It's simple. But you have to practice. You have to practice. And anybody who practices, it's very simple to understand. It is absolutely not difficult to understand we are not this body, provided you follow the process. Now, the problem is, suppose for example, if you want to make a chapati, bread. Pizza. Yeah, pizza. If you want to make a bread, you need to follow process. If I say you want to make a bread, you want to eat it, okay, do this, you make a bread, and simple. You get a bread and you can taste it. So similarly, Bhagavad Gita says, well, you follow a process, you chant this mantra, you do meditation, and you can see for yourself, life is separate from matter. Many people have done that. Many saints, many cultures, all tradition, at least one point everybody is convinced, there's something beyond body. At least at least this point everybody is convinced. And it's not just soul. We have this gross body, then your subtle body, and then you have soul. And you can see it's a direct perception. What other proof anybody wants except direct perception? You can see. You can see for yourself. If suppose I know a friend, and you ask me, do you know your friend? I'll tell, come on, I met him. So, if you want to convince me that, no, you don't know your friend, well, I have met him and know that, and I've experienced that. If you want to meet, you can meet him. Similarly, many people have experienced soul. They have told, and it's recorded in scriptures. And if you follow that knowledge, you can also experience. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, it's not a big thing. Just 4 or 5 months you have to practice and you can experience. If it doesn't work out, leave it. Simple. Simple. It's as simple. If you want to ask, cake is sweet or not, and you want to understand it's sweet or not, do you ask me a proof? Come on, eat it. If it feels sweet, eat it. If it doesn't feel sweet, just forget it. That's all. Finish. It's as simple as that. You don't need to spend whole life in that. So this process, 3rd chapter gives you a process to understand. There's something beyond body and you can see for yourself. That is direct perception for you. And 4th chapter begins with the knowledge. When you meditate, when you start meditating, you need knowledge. Because without knowledge, meditation is having no value. No. If you close your eyes, what you're supposed to do? You should know what you're supposed to do. What is happening within you when you are chanting this mantra? How your consciousness is elevating? How your consciousness is advancing? Knowledge is required. Knowledge without meditation is philosophy, and meditation without knowledge is sentiment. That's all. You're closing your eyes, that's all, nothing else. So knowledge and meditation has to be combined together to get the result. That's 4th chapter. That is Jnana Yoga. But you might have heard about Jnana Yoga. And then 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Action in Krishna Consciousness. That means somebody can say it's imagination, no? Somebody can say, fine, your concept of soul and God and this chanting of mantra, it's all imagination. We don't believe in all these things. Fine. You don't believe, fine, that's okay. But Bhagavad Gita gives an answer to that. Bhagavad Gita says, fine, if it was an imagination, if you practice its meditation, and if you start knowing that your soul, you're beyond this body, you'll get some symptoms, which is not possible by imagination. For example, self-satisfaction. There's no imagination, no process in the world which can free you from anger, lust, envy, greed. There is no process. No process. Neither imagination, neither hallucinations, nothing. If you say this is a hallucination and imagination, how come so many people practicing the process? They are peaceful. They're satisfied. They can control. They have the power to self-control. That power for self-control, that comes by meditation. It doesn't come by imagination. You get free of lust, anger, greed, desires. It's not possible. It's not possible for any normal human being without a process. And that's what these scriptures are offering. A life free of anger. Nobody wants to be angry, is it? Nobody wants to be angry. A life free of enviousness. Life free of lust. Life free of greed. A life full of happiness, peace and self-satisfaction. Why can't we try that? What's the harm in that? No? Is there any harm? If we offer you a proposal, you will become happy, peaceful. You will not feel angry. You can have self-control in your mind. And no enviousness. You will become selfless. Not selfish anymore. Would you like that proposal? Anybody? No. Do you deny that? Nobody is going to deny that. And you will save a lot of money. Because you're not this body. Your happiness is not dependent on gadgets, no? We are dependent. We are not free now. We think this is the age of liberty, freedom, but this is not age of freedom. We have become more of slaves of our own senses. That's what is happening. That's what scriptures give us an insight. We are slaves of our senses. We are pulled by senses. We are forced by senses to do things, no? That's what is happening with us. If you think about it, that's 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's giving you wisdom. And that's what many wise people were talking about. In the name of liberty, we are slaves now. We are slaves of computers. Without computer, we can't live. Without internet, you can't live. No. Back in India, I asked a boy, okay, come on, I'll take your laptop, I'll take your internet. He said, I'll die. He said like that, I'll die. So, but you see this knowledge, simply this knowledge and some meditation, not for your entire day, for some time. We're not asking you to leave your jobs. Just some time you devote, practice this, and slowly you'll get self-satisfaction. You don't need anything else to be happy. It's so nice. So nice. You can just sit self-satisfied. You don't need to talk to anybody. You don't need any gadgets. And everybody wants that life, no? So you save money. You don't end up in relationship problems, no? You don't fight with people because you're free of anger, and you develop more tolerance, develop self-control. It's good. So this is not imagination. It doesn't happen to any normal guy who is imagining something, no? Isn't it? All these things doesn't come by themselves. It doesn't come by hallucination. Hallucinating people, they end up in problems. They don't end up in self-control, modesty. All good qualities will come in you. Modesty, simplicity, daya bhuteshu alolotvam, arjavam mardavam hi chapalam. Bhagavad Gita says, mercy, compassion, all good qualities will come, manifest themselves. Because you have understood you're not this body. So this is the proof. This is by effect, you know the cause. So this is the effect. And then you can understand this works. That's the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I'm explaining Bhagavad Gita now. And also the meaning of life together. So, and then 6th chapter is Dhyana Yoga. You might be knowing Dhyana Yoga. So Dhyana Yoga, what is Dhyana Yoga? Dhyana Yoga, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you do meditation, you take knowledge, be attentive. Dhyan means attentive, no? Attentive. Devote your time, little time to this process. You have to follow something. You have to devote your time. It's not we sometimes do, we sometimes do not do. Then that things do not work. Devote little time. See for yourself. If you don't find any result, leave it. That's all, finish. Forget it. Go put it in trash. But if you don't try, and if you start applying logic, you'll not be able to understand, because this is beyond human logic. This knowledge is beyond the realm of science. It is not in tools of science. It is not there. Just like love. Love is not in tools of science. Science cannot analyze love, no? I was in India, and one couple, so they were kissing each other. So then somebody joked, see, what is love? Can science explain? So scientists told, yes, we can explain. So when they're kissing each other, the molecules of the lips are coming in contact. And then they were trying, but you can't do that, Like music, music, you go to any musician. Some things are beyond logic. In some things you have to leave logic for some time. You ask any musician, if you want to learn music, you have to leave your... Is any musician? You're a musician? Composer? You're a composer? See, isn't it right? If you have to we have to compose good music, for some time you have to leave logic, you have to feel. Any good musician will tell, feel more. And then you get... Is it? Am I right? Yeah. Any musician. Because if you start thinking logically, you get paralyzed. Music doesn't come. So some things are, you have to leave logic. Some things are beyond logic. So this knowledge is, Gita says, Achinte khalui bhava natam serke na uche. This knowledge is beyond logic. You have to practice, see for yourself. That's all. Finish. 4 months crash course. Okay, fine. Not a big deal. No money charge. No charge of money. It's free. Free knowledge. And entire life you can be happy, peaceful, self-satisfied, and all good qualities. It's not a bad bargain, no? Is it? So it's a bad bargain? No. You become happy person. Anybody who comes in contact with you, they become happy. That's life, no? That's the meaning of life, no? To be happy and make others happy. At least first purpose of life. And if you can't do this small thing, what we have lived life for? For money? That's all. That is not life for. Life is not for dollars. Money cannot give you happiness, no? Money can give you some comforts, but not happiness. There's a difference. Comforts and happiness is different. Comforts is bodily level. Happiness comes from peace. You can ask anybody in your neighbor, anybody, are you happy? They can say, we are happy. Are you peaceful? No. Many times you are not peaceful, no? Mind is in anxieties, so many things. And peace comes from satisfaction. Ashantasya kuta sukham. That's what Bhagavad Gita says. Peace comes from satisfaction. If you're not satisfied, you're not peaceful. You're thinking, you want. Anxieties. And that's not, then it'll not lead to true happiness. It'll be just sensual excitement. There's a difference between sensual excitement and happiness. It makes sense to all of you? That's what at least Bhagavad Gita says. If you just think, just sit and think, it makes sense. This is wisdom. Ancient wisdom. And many people have practiced, millions and millions of people have practiced, they have got results. It is not just I am saying, or 4 people are saying outside. Millions of people have practiced, they have perfected their life, they have understood the wisdom, they have become happy, they have helped people, and everybody is saying. So we have a sense, we have a data also. We have a sense. You call it senses. Senses. You have people, a body of people, many people who have practiced this, got results. So it's not basically illogical. So that's 5th chapter about. And then 6th chapter. And then when you practice this meditation on sound and knowledge, which is mentioned in scriptures, take some knowledge, then you will get realizations. That's knowledge and realization is different, no? Now you have knowledge that you're not this body. But realization is you see for yourself. When you go in meditation, you can see, and that's called trance. You have heard about trance? You can see for yourself. You can see for yourself, and others can also see by the change in your life. They may not be able to see that you are different from body, because that I can see, it is my self-perception, but they will be able to see the effect of that. I told you that effect. They can see the change in your life. Tejas, Bhagavad Gita says, when you do meditation, people who do meditation, all around the world, any religion, any culture, any tradition, you can see they are more fresh, more agile. Isn't it? And she travels a lot. I'll ask her. She travels in India. True. They're more glowing. It's like that. And people who don't do that, people who are just at bodily level, you see they are so dull. They need to go to some person to learn laughing. You have to learn laughing, It's happening in India. People go to some exercises and they laugh, Laughing yoga is like that. There is. You have to learn laughing. This age is like this. If you can't laugh, what's the point? You see all the meditators, all the saints, they're more fresh. She's doing yoga. She looks pretty agile, no? So it's like that. You get realizations. Slowly you get realizations. And you see for yourself. That's the scripture all about. That's Bhagavad Gita all about. It's simple. Bhagavad Gita is asking you to apply some common sense. Not logic. Not science. Simple common sense. And they're inviting you to practice this. See for yourself. Become happy. As simple. This message is simple. But the problem is, we get confused, no? We get confused. Okay, science says we have explained life. Like I was in UC yesterday. So one student was telling, okay, no. So, life comes from chemical complex interaction with chemicals. Well, I told him, it's a belief. Nobody has shown us. Who told him that life comes from chemicals? Who told you? You read in books, no? Books. Books told you. Who have written books? Scientists. Who told them? It's a belief. It's a belief life comes from molecules. I just read, there's no body of evidence which can show you this. It's a belief. Okay, fine, they can believe, no problem. But you have to understand what is the consequence of that belief. The consequence of that belief is, you are at this bodily level, you don't know anything beyond this, you are not self-satisfied, no good qualities, promotes selfishness, selfish gene. Have anybody read that book? You read? You might have read. Richard Dawkins. Selfish genes. We are ultimately selfish. We are taught survival of the fittest. That's what we are. So somebody asked Richard Dawkins, he's a big biologist, evolutionist. So he said that selfishness is coded in us. We are coded. No, genes are coded. Genes are selfish to survive. Survival of the fittest. Somebody asked, don't you think this theory is dangerous? If you convince everybody you're selfish in your genes, and there's no problem being selfish because you're coded like that, isn't theory dangerous? He said, well, it is dangerous, I know, but there's reality. That was his answer. So, well, nobody has shown that thing. So, well, if that's okay, fine. If that's a belief, if their belief is this, our belief is life cannot come from chemicals. You see the effect. That's all. See the effect. Practice this. See the effect, and your life becomes successful. And that's what pretty much I want to say. Now, I conclude here. The message is finished. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Any questions if you want to ask? This is Bhagavad Gita all about. This is not mythology. This is not religion. This is a rational, systematic body of knowledge which is helping you to make your life more better, more happy, more peaceful. That's what this is book about. And pretty much, because this book is talking about why you have to do all these things. What is a symptom? What is an effect? What is a cause? That's science, cause and effect. That's what this is talking about. That's why I told you. So you can read this book if you want. This one? This is Bhagavad Gita as it is. And if you read this book, then you will understand philosophy. You will understand the reason why you have to do all these things. Just read this book like a novel. People like to read many novels, yeah.
Do you say Arjuna or Arjuna?
We say Arjun.
Arjuna.
Yeah,
I've read Bhagavad Gita many years ago, but I've read it again a couple of days ago when I was going to meet with you. And in chapter 1, Arjuna is discussing with Krishna the fact that his relatives are planning to kill him.
Yeah.
And he's very unhappy about that, but he would rather be killed than kill them.
Yeah, he was thinking like this.
And I have a problem with that, because even the Buddhists, I spent months and a half learning Tibetan Buddhist meditation. Mm-hmm. They mention this guy, what was his name? Oh, can't think of it now. But there's a difference between killing in self-defense and murder. And even in, according to the Buddhist teachings, if somebody comes to murder you, you almost have an obligation to kill them so that they don't affect their eternal soul.
Yeah, you're right. So
the question is, Bhagavad Gita in a way this Arjuna, he claims that he would rather be killed, he would rather be murdered by these very mean relatives of his than defending himself.
And that's what Krishna told him. Krishna convinced him, this is a wrong concept. And that's why at the end of Bhagavad Gita he says, get up and fight. So this is a wrong concept. That's why you have a problem. This is a wrong thing. Okay. There's no right.
So you mean that Krishna responded to that?
Yeah, Krishna responded. He said,
you have to defend yourself.
Yeah, you have to defend. Because if you don't defend, if you don't save your life, how do you perfect your life? How do you understand these truths? So that's where Bhagavad Gita
Besides, it affects also these who want to murder you, because their eternal soul is then engaged in really bad karma.
Yeah, that's true. All these things. Yeah.
I guess my feeling is that happiness involves understanding. It's understanding things, attending why the earth's going on the sun, or why we're here, or whatever. That's more than meditation. It seems to me that it's understanding that would lead to happiness.
That's okay. Understanding can lead to happiness. Nobody is denying that. But Krishna is saying that happiness is there in understanding. Happiness in these small things is also there. But happiness within is much higher, much greater than what we are experiencing now. Now that experience, after you experience, then we can know the relative sense of that. Now, for example, as a child we were eating toffees. We call toffees here? Toffees? Candies, yeah. And then when you grow up, then you taste something higher things, Now, after growing up, you're not interested in candies, you're interested in money or something else, because we find happiness in that. Now we know that's a childish happiness. You're adult. So similarly, when you experience that happiness within, then we can understand that this happiness is far, far more greater than that happiness. Nobody is denying that happiness. But after getting a higher taste, then we can understand what is lower and what is higher. That's what Krishna is offering. Happiness, try to search happiness within. That is an ocean. Whatever happiness you'll find outside, that's like a drop. And that is why many people who meditated, who understood this, they could see, many people could sit in trance for years together. How do you do that? Nobody is able to explain that. I went to Himalayas, I was living with yogis, all these, and I could see they could sit in trance for 4 months, 5 months continuously, closing their eyes, just sitting. No hunger, no thirst. It's humanly impossible. It is only possible if you feel intense happiness within. It's not possible. You can't bypass hunger, thirst. There is evidence in front of us. People doing that. And that's how I got convinced. I thought, it's not imagination. People are doing that. Then I meditated. I was doing meditation. And I used to sit for meditation for 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I used to feel intense happiness, and that's how I know. I have my self-direct perception. I have confidence, and I know.
So I wonder, maybe there's different kinds of people. That some people become happy through meditation, like you do. I don't think I ever will become happy with only meditation. I like to have understanding, which only comes with dealing with the world.
Okay, fine, no problem. But the problem is, the point is, if you practice meditation, if you experience that, your experience will tell you yourself that is higher. We can't logically argue in that. Now you are saying, okay, I think I'll get happiness there. But we are telling you, try this, you experience that, you yourself will understand this is far greater than that. We can't get logically for that, no?
I guess in my mind, I see a strong connection in spiritualism and in science. I see them as being interlinked, and it reminds me of two scientific studies. One is with experimenting with rats and seeing how maternal rats who nurture their children changes their genetic codes, and they pass on the instinct of love and selflessness.
I've read that study.
And then a second study has been done. It's monitoring the creative state or the flow state that people get into in meditation. It also monitors their state when they are creating, such as art or music. And I think that the science points to the power of spiritualism because it shows how your brain waves are changed.
Yeah, all those studies are done, but I didn't mention here. There are many studies there. Yesterday I was mentioning about many out-of-body experiences. Everybody knows, you can Google it. People leave their body, people see from the vantage point. There are many cases like that. Are you aware of that? Out-of-body experiences? So, and it's a medical study. I mean to say, I was referring to a case, Pam Reynolds case yesterday. There's a female in Atlanta, Virginia, and she got a brain aneurysm. Aneurysm dilates. So doctors had to perform brain surgery on her, and because her aneurysm was big, they have to stop blood circulation. That's what you have to do in brain surgery, neurosurgery. So you have to drop down the temperature of the brain because vessels should constrict. Otherwise, if vessels are dilated, they'll bleed. Small vessels you can't stop blood, no, like that. So clinically, she had brain death, flatline. Clinically, they induced death for some time. Heart-lung machine, you get blood out, lungs, ventilator, and she's out. She's brain death. But I was mentioning yesterday, but this case has become very controversial in science because then she experienced out-of-body experience. She went out of the body. She reported that she was on the ceiling. She saw beneath. She could describe all neurosurgical process from the first point to the last point. And if you say it's hallucination, that cannot be because she is brain dead. It's flatline. So scientists do not know how to explain this. It's become a very controversial, and science is looking forward for a paradigm shift. Now you can give theories, but there is one theory that consciousness can exist outside brain. It can. So there are many theories like this. But what I was trying to get now in this seminar was, in this short point lecture was, there are many stories, but what is the best evidence? You see for yourself, no? That's the best. That's the best thing. That was my whole point. Why don't you try if something is good? What's the hassle in that? And we are not saying whole life, we are saying just 5-6 months, take a crash course. That's all. That's all Bhagavad Gita is claiming, What's the problem in that? And you become happy and you become peaceful and you become good. That's all, finish. Your life is okay.
I like to just experience it for yourself and get your own knowledge from that.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense to me also. But in terms of the kind of higher happiness and great spirituality, could that be equated to almost a deep internal awareness of the connection with all of life? Like kind of taking it from just, that's just my happiness to my happiness is interacting, like my well-being and life is communicating and interacting with all other forms of life simultaneously. That idea, that understanding that all on Earth we're all in a massive community, and it's not just it's not just me and myself.
Yeah, that will happen. You're right. That will happen. What you have, you can give. What you don't have, you cannot give. If you don't have happiness, you cannot give. So it starts from us, then it goes beyond us. No, that's what is spirituality all about. If you are satisfied, if you are peaceful, people who have come in contact with you, they become happy, peaceful. But if we are devoid of all those things, how do we give others? No. So it's not from outside to within. It's from within to outside. That's where spirituality begins.
Yeah, I'm even thinking. I've been studying ecology and stuff so much lately, but even to the greater life forms. It's not just people. It's everything that's alive on Earth.
Yeah, you'll get the point. See, the point is when we understand that we are not body, we are soul. All life forms are soul. They're not just bodies. Then immediately you establish connection, with everybody. Immediately, it will be very natural. Otherwise, animals. Who cares for animals nowadays? because there's no connection. There are some different life forms, we are different species, that's a different species. So we have somehow come to conclude that human species are better than that species. That's an assumption. I don't know why. They also have emotions, they have life. So with this knowledge, you will be able to see unity behind diversity. We have diversity, many other organisms, different forms, different language. But when you understand everybody's soul, life is separate from matter, then you can see unity. And then you can be... Then compassion is there, then mercy is there.
You mentioned, obviously, that we've been kind of grown and molded to this way.
Yeah.
And obviously our environment has changed to drive that. So I guess since you see a child is grown, we're adults now, and this is the way our brains are literally, I mean, it's been proven scientifically that we as humans just get pleasure out of money, material things.
Yeah.
So how do you start? I mean, I understand the 4 months crash course, but how do you train your mind and yourself when you deviate from the meditations to come back and say, this is what it is, self-acceptance, and going through the processes?
So what's the question? What do you do? Like
Can you
in
kind of
small.
speak to the stages that you go through during the 4 months period?
Yeah, simple. I mean, to say first you have to take knowledge, read this book, take some knowledge. Otherwise, you don't know what you're doing, why you're doing. And just like we chanted this mantra, Hare Krishna, we chant this, meditate on the sound, and then slowly, when we do this regularly, then slowly we'll be able to see. We will separate from a body. Slowly, that will happen. You'll be able to see within you. You're not mind. You're not intelligence. You're beyond that. So knowledge and cognition will come together. You understand cognition? The realization of knowledge will come together, and you will understand. Just like pain. If you feel pain, you have pain. So pain is knowledge and cognition. That experience of pain comes together. You're confident you have pain, no? There's no doubt about it, I have pain. So that thing comes. And then slowly, when you advance, then all these, I told you, symptoms, your life changes. All good qualities, they manifest. Self-satisfaction, your life becomes simple because you're self-satisfied. So, and then, I'm convinced with this knowledge, you continue. Then there are many things you can read. Many things are there. Once you go to that level, then you can understand higher levels. If I tell now, you'll not be able to understand, is it? So there are 9 levels of realization. 9 levels. 18 chapters, 9 levels. And all are explained gradually what will happen. It's documented. This is going to happen at this stage, this is going to happen at this stage, this is going to happen. It is not imagination. People who have gone through that journey, they know this is going to happen. And that will happen. You match. That's all. Finish. Achieve perfection.
Okay, one more thing. So, I've read a lot of Taoist books, like the Tao Te Ching,
Taoist?
books like
Yeah.
that, and it's basically life at the very base. It's mystery. You don't really know at the very base what way back in the day everything came from. It's actually kind of giving up that scientific, almost ego, to acceptance that you really don't know anything other than this moment. And although the experience of this moment, like for me at least,
Yeah.
I looked back at it yesterday just because I hadn't looked at it in a while, and I was like, wow, this is exactly what I've been kind of seeing and how I've been analyzing things. It's like, so there's kind of beauty and the acceptance of beauty of life, kind of the deep joys, and there's also the function, which is physical and your interaction with other living things and other resources. So,
Yeah, that's you're right. I mean, that's Taoism is just one verse of Bhagavad Gita.
yeah.
Matra sprashastu kante sitoshna sukhatukada agama payana nitya samtitikshva bharata. Entire Taoism is just one verse. Na shoshati na kankshati. Live now. That's Taoism. Buddhism, this moment. Past, don't worry about past, don't think about future. That's Taoism. That's just one realization which we'll get. But when you follow this process, There are many realizations you're going to get now.
I would disagree with that about Taoism.
Well, that's okay. You have all rights to disagree. Nobody's saying, but I also read Taoism and I practiced that. I'm not saying it's wrong, but just the beginning. It's not the end. Because anyway, Taoism says it's a mystery, no? There is no end to realizations, no? There's no end. That's what is spirituality all about. So Bhagavad Gita gives you more deeper insight to that. If you read, you'll get more deeper insights. That's all. It's not wrong. Okay. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I've also written this book, Science Fails. Oh, this was a topic. I just quoted 2 scientists there. Science Fails to Explain Life. I've also written, because I'm doing research in genetics, I've written about genetics. There's all talk of genetics now. So much talks, GMOs, and so genetics is on the verge of saying that let's get this concept of genes out of science. This concept of genes is changing. Genes decide for genes are life. There's so many things I've explained here in easy terms. How we were led to believe that life is matter. We are machines. The history of that. And how now science is come to accept that you cannot define life. That story of life is there in this book. I charted out. And many other things, cloning and so many things. So this book, and this is one book, Crazy Ideas. I wrote just Crazy Ideas. I just named it like that. Because I'm meeting so many people, so many ideas. So there's so many ideas. Many people have many questions. And all those answers I'm giving in this book, whatever I know, according to scriptures, according to wisdom, ancient wisdom, I've given answers. So you can see these books, and especially Bhagavad Gita. Read that book, Bhagavad Gita, and try to understand more in life. That's all. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much to all of you.